We continue with our rallying call. If you've not registered as a voter, you only have 48 hours to do so in order to participate in the coming general election. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says it is expecting a busy 2 days of registration. Speaking in Mombasa, Commissioner Mohammed Alawi says IEBC is prepared to deal with the numbers. The commissioner, however, maintains that the exercise will not be extended.
2 days remaining before the conclusion of the voter registration exercise, and IEBC is on the overdrive in sensitizing Kenyans on the importance of registering as a voter. The Commission says the number of those registered by close of business Saturday was 11.3 million people.
If we all come out, we can actually mop up the balance of the Kenyans who are remaining to be registered. Our machines have stabilized. Our clerks have become experienced, and we are willing and ready to register up to the last person on the queue.
And so, with 2 days remaining, IEBC was in the coastal town of Mombasa to sensitize residents on the importance of participating in the elections. The Commission organized a race dubbed IEBC Voter Marathon with participating athletes from all over the country. And as they took to the streets of Mombasa, the message was very clear: come and register to be a voter, as the date will not be extended.
It's a very costly affair. So even extending it by a day, it runs into hundreds of millions in terms of employment, in terms of deployment, in terms of the energy sapping, and there are many other things that need to be put in place.
The Commission, however, says it is prepared to handle large numbers expected to turn up at various registration points in the remaining 2 days, and nobody will be turned away.
Mpango haumaliziki leo. Mpaka saa 12 tarehe 18 sisi tunayo hiyo kazi ya kutoa watu waje wajiandikishe kura.
Siku ni mbaya na Wakenya kwa sababu siku za mwisho ndio wanajitokezea. Hizo siku zingine hatukuwa na changamoto. Sasa hizi watu wanapiga foleni.
The voter registration drive was also extended to parts of Machakos County, where the IEBC, in partnership with Standard Group's Radio Maisha, held a roadshow, making stopovers in Matu, Masinga, Kiva and other parts of Machakos County, calling on citizens to register to be able to take part in the March polls. Aaron Ochen, KTN, Sunday Night.
And now let's speak to KTN's Asha Mwilu. She is live in Lodwar, bringing us the very latest from that area, the voter registration exercise, and certainly the challenges that the IEBC will be having in that particular area because of infrastructure. Asha, over to you.
Thank you, Anne, and a very good evening to you. Well, of course, the last time we spoke to you, we were in Lokichar town, and today we've been traveling into Lodwar town. Now, let me just explain one thing. This is a journey that's supposed to take just 2 hours on a tarmac road, but it's taken us 6 hours to get to Lodwar town, and we've seen that the roads are really bad, infrastructure is poor, there are hardly any hospitals, any schools around, the communities are nomadic, so they move from one place to another, and you know, at some point our vehicles were stuck in the sandy soil. And in light of this, the KTN crew saw just the challenges that IEBC officials undergo in such areas. This is the thing. IEBC officials cannot fly BVR kits to Lodwar town to register the residents here because of one reason. There are a number of nomadic families living between Lokichar town, where we were yesterday, to Lodwar. So because every Kenyan has their constitutional right to vote, IEBC officials have to try their best to get to these families, get to these nomadic communities. And these are some of the challenges that they've had to undergo, braving these very poor roads to get to such Kenyans. Well, now this is the thing. We've already seen the challenges that the IEBC officials undergo in this area. When we got to Lodwar town, the few hours that we had, we walked around the town and we were able to speak to some of the residents here and try to understand what's their take on the ongoing process. And one question that we were asking is, do you know how many days are remaining to the close of the registration process? And some of the answers were baffling. So let's just see a couple of the answers that we got from the Lodwar residents.
Siku 12
tarehe 8 mwezi wa 12. Imebaki siku kama 8 hivi, kwa sababu walikuwa wanasema itakuwa 18 ndio ifungwe.
Unbelievable, right? Some people even thought that they had up until the March 4th to register. So tonight we are joined by IEBC's coordinator in Turkana Central, Mr. Omondi George. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start by the last thing that I've talked about, that some people in Lodwar town, which is ideally the most developed town in Turkana Central, still think that they have about 18 days, 20 days, others 14 to the end of the registration process, and it's a well-known fact that they only have 2 days left. So why is this so?
Well, generally there's been a misconception that the registration exercise will be extended, and some also do believe that the 2010 cards are still valid and they can use them in next year's election. Then we've also had the confusion as a result of recent party elections or registration, where they also believe that after registering as a party member, those cards are also valid. So they've not been keen on the end date of the exercise.
But let me ask you, hasn't IEBC conducted civic education in this area?
Well, we've tried conducting civic education. We've also engaged voter educators within the CBD, but due to the fact that Lodwar town is the economic hub of Turkana County, you realize that most of the residents are so much engaged in their economic endeavors to the extent that they don't go to those public gatherings. So there's a lot of people are not aware of what's going on around them apart from their economic activities.
Okay, well, we know that Turkana has recorded some of the lowest numbers. Is that the case in Turkana Central in particular?
Well, Madam, I'd like you let's analyze data not in isolation, because if you compare the 2010 registration, where Turkana Central we're expecting to register around 25,000 voters, as at the moment we've registered over 30,000. To me, I do believe you're doing so well. More so, if you look at the fact, if you consider that in 2010 during that registration, was done for 45 days, and now we've not even reached 30th day. So we're doing fine. I don't think there's a cause for alarm.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And of course, you've heard it from the IEBC here, officials here in Turkana Central. They've told us all the challenges that they've encountered so far, and they've talked to us about how unique this area is and why we're seeing the numbers being a bit low. But now let's cross over to Isiolo County, where my colleague Sophia Wanuna is on standby to give us the details from that side, with only 2 days left to go for the registration process. Sophia.
Thank you very much, Asha Mulu, coming for us from Lodwar. We are in Isiolo County with just 2 days to go to the deadline of the voter registration exercise. Now, we just have not been here for the past 2 days. Yesterday, we were in Marsabit County. We've been to Lysamis as well. And all we've been doing is really monitoring the voter registration exercise, looking at the status. How is it going on? Well, remember the last IEBC listing did indicate that Isiolo County and Marsabit County were among the bottom list regarding the voter registration turnout, the people turning out to register as voters. So we've been to the town centers, and what we've been able to realize so far is that is where a majority of those who've managed to register so far have registered from. Now, the biggest challenge in this part of the country, as Kenyans will know, the majority of the population here are pastoralists, and for them really it's a nomadic lifestyle, constantly on the move in search of pasture and water, and for them that is what they prioritize. And so the rains, it has been raining, and so it is right now most of them are inland looking out for pasture, and as I mentioned, their water for their livestock, and so they're missing out on the exercise. So those that are in the centers that have been set up in the town centers, not quite being able to capture these people. So there is that issue of their lifestyle that has made the voter turnout quite low. with most of them unwilling to return and leave their livestock out in the wild. Another challenge, of course, is voter apathy. Majority of those who've been talking to telling us that they are concerned that in the past they've participated in the election and they have not seen much being done for them by their leaders, and so they don't feel the need to participate in the next election slated for the 4th of March 2013. Now, when we were in Marsabit yesterday, several people coming into the town from bigger towns, Nairobi, Nakuru, coming in to register, and one of the things we were asking them, do they understand that they will also be required to return to vote there as well? They say yes. They say that they want to be able to elect leaders from their hometowns, people that will be able to bring about development from their in their hometowns. But of course, there's several who have registered as well, maintaining that they will ensure they vote for people whose track record speaks for themselves. They're excited about the forthcoming election, and we will continue to monitor the situation in here in Isiolo, in Marsabit. Tomorrow we'll be heading out to Meru. We had prepared some of the views of the people, not only here in Isiolo, but in Laisamis as well, of course, also in Marsabit. But we're having a small technical hitch, and so we don't have them available right now, but I'm sure our director, Sarah, as soon as they're ready, if they're ready, hopefully we'll be able to have views, look at them, hear the views of the people here, because they have been talking to us, telling us their thoughts and their concerns. Of course, these polling stations, or rather where the voter registration centers, only in the town area, some suggesting that perhaps they should be on the road, following the pastoralist to where they are, to be able to register them. So those are just some of the issues. Again, also the issue of infrastructure. I mean, the road, the tarmac road goes as far as Isiolo. They are run out to Laisamis and Marsabit. It's rough terrain. Some parts really terrible, and with somewhat no public service vehicles here operating, then it's also hard for them to move from one point to another to be able to register. So we are watching the situation very keenly. 48 days to go. Continuing to urge our viewers elsewhere around the country who are watching us, if you have not registered, go out there and register. Very important that you do that. So from me here in Isiolo and the great team with us, it's back to you in studio and Kibuta.
All right, thank you.